Alright, this is Proof of Life for build 91. Just going to show you, run through the paces. A couple of things that are new about this and different than the other ones. You will notice that the top lid is different. It's a customer design. And let's look at the back plane. Let's see if I can get some light on it there. And we're going to disconnect here. I'll go over here and show you the back plane. Alright, so it's a pretty standard back plane. The big difference here is that it's got a DVI port, and the compact flash is done on the lid. There's also a custom color on the cartridge port. The DVI port that I've got here is just a standard DVI adapter, and then I've got it through HDMI. This works on the LG TV that I have in the shop. It doesn't work on all TVs, but the Sophia can do HDMI or DVI to HDMI. I got this adapter from Amazon. It was like 25-30 bucks. Your power supply, SIO to PC, which is a micro USB, a legacy SIO. You've got RGB for the SC1224 or any analog RGB, composite video and S video, PS2 mouse, PS2 keyboard, joystick 1, joystick 2. This is the disc change LED indicator. This is the disc change LED switch. And then some people have asked about this logo here. I've tried to put it on most of my gear that I sell, and just to indicate that I'm the one that produced it. You know, it's my logo, just like the Fuji is Atari's logo. It is McCrory, and it is a drawing done of my World of Warcraft character. So now you know, not only do I build machines, but I'm a geek for life. So a couple of things here. I'm just going to set this up, and hopefully it will stay in place and show a pretty good view as we manipulate it. Once again, I am using the standard keyboard that I have, which is a LabTech PS2 wireless and wireless mouse. So let's just run through the paces. First of all, I want to turn the unit on, and I'm going to temporarily change it over to the USB here. I'm sorry, the input here, so that we can see the input. So you'll notice that I've got it now on the GOS, just like I normally do for most of my Proof of Life. Here's the mouse. I'm going to make sure that this is set up and that this is awake. And then there we go. So you'll notice that this is set to red, if you can see that there. That means that it is set to the port that will address the mouse, and that's the port set for here. This is a nice little GOS. It's not completely ready for prime time, but John is currently working on it, and it does a couple of things. You know, you can select, it's got a little application. So this is with composite, sorry. And then if I go here, this is the S video. So it's a little better, obviously, a little sharper. This is the RGB through an SC1224, just a standard SC1224. And then this is the DVI. And I've got it set to 4:3 ratio, and if your TV can do it, you can have it set to 16:9, which is kind of cool. So it's, you know, again, doesn't do a heck of a lot right now, but it's set in place for you to be able to use it. and can manipulate it without a problem. So let's run this through its paces. Right now I'm going to press F12 and I'm going to go into the BIOS here, and what I want to do is so a couple of things here. This is set up for a 1 meg Rambo expansion. It's set for your XL OS. You can do different RAM expansions. If you disable it, then you've just got a 64K machine. This is a 320K Rambo, a 576K Copy Shop, and then back to the 1 meg. You've got 4 OSs installed. Your standard XL OS, your Atari 400/800 OS B, but it's PAL. You've got QMEG, which is like a line, command line OS, and then your XEGS OS, which is the same operating system that's in the XEGS, so that you can emulate an XEGS with a detached keyboard and internal game ROMs. You have 4 different basic type ROMs installed. There's the Atari Basic-C, which is the bug-free, the last version that Atari produced. You've got Altera Basic, which is the most recent version being put out. The Atari Assembler Editor, so if you want to do some assembly coding. SynAssembler, same thing, except it's a little more powerful. And then back to Atari Basic-C. If you want Basic always off, you can disable it. If you want it on and then you disable it with the option switch, it's there. Sparta-DOS X right now is disabled because we're in the graphical OS. I'm going to enable it. That automatically turns off the GOS. If I put the arrow key to the right, this gets the system clock, which you can tell it's 1:40 in the morning. I should probably be asleep. You set the VBXE base. This is the default base that most things will look for at. This is the extended base address if it conflicts with something. I leave it at OD640 because that's the one that most software will look for. Your stereo pokey's enabled. Just press enter to disable it. If for some reason you need to change the address of the second pokey, then this is where you would do it. The GTI V-Gate disables the overscan for video, so especially on DVI and RGB, this allows it to squish it just a little bit so everything looks nice. This is your parallel bus interface BIOS. It always has to be enabled for you to access your compact flash. This is obviously device 0. I set the boot drive for hard drives at D5, the assumption being that D1 through D4 are floppy drives, and those can be floppy drives through an SIO2 PC or through an SIO2 SD or a regular XF551 or 1050 or whatever. You can redirect to D1 so it boots. That's up to you. It will look for the config sys on D5, which again is what I call the boot drive. You can right lock the hard drive and refresh if you hot swap your compact flash cards. I would recommend that you not do that, but it's there if you can do it. Since you have 2-slot compact flash cards, you need to always make sure that the slave is enabled, and that way you will have access to the second card. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then you will only see one compact flash. So I need to plug the power in there. Yeah, let's turn this off. All right, couple of things. High-speed I/O for the disks and the SIO2 PC is enabled. You can turn these on or off as you wish. This gives you the indication. The one big thing to notice here, oh, sorry, screensaver went on. The one big thing to notice here is that this scans and sees that it has a VBXE. It's just not me saying it does. Also tells you it's NTSC, that it's got dual pokies, and these are the different version numbers for the firmware. This is fairly straightforward. I have this set for this color here because I like that color. You can change it to different colors if you wish. Sometimes I set it to 7, but in this case I set it to 9 because I liked it that way. This is an interface for Rapidus should you choose to install one. You should note that you can't install the Rapidus physically because it's blocked by the XEL CF3. So I'm trying to I have a workaround so that you can have both. Not quite there yet, I just haven't had enough time. All these are fairly straightforward. Save changes of exit, save changes of boot, save changes, etc., etc. The one thing you want to know is every letter there can be hit on any screen in the BIOS and it will instantly happen, right? So if I wanted to just save an exit, I could hit B and it would, or X, and it would go to the same state it was in when we booted up. What I want to do now, however, is instead of doing that, I want to save and boot to the loader. Okay, so I'm gonna do boot, save changes. Now the loader gets me to the hang on, I just need to make sure. The loader, let's pull this up just a hair. The loader gets me to 3 different partitions on the compact flash cards. So the real cool thing about the compact flash is that you can have 4 different types of partitions or 4 different ways to access it. The first is the ATR partition, or not the ATR partition, the APT partition, and that's the Atari partition table. That's what SDX or MyDOS or whatever accesses the compact flashes with. Fat32 gives you access to the loader. So that means you can load it up on your Mac or your PC or your Linux box and copy over files. Any file that you want to copy over that's going to run on Atari, you can access through the loader. An XEX file, a COM file, all of those good files you can load there. But you can't access those files from the APT or from SDX. These 2 partitions, Fat16 partitions, these are ways that you can access them through the loader, you can access them on your computer, but you can also access them through SDX. There's a interface, a config sys loader driver that I'll show you in a few minutes. So a couple of things. What I really want to show you right now is the disk swap switch. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to load a 2-disc demo. And you can see here, Passem and Terrace, it's 1 disc and 2 discs. And the thing is that you can't physically swap disks, right? You have to get the system to say, hey, they're really 2 files, and I need you to load those files. So what you do is you create a map, and then you load that map in the loader. So I'm going to press that. It's going to load, and you can see it march across the screen there. Now it says insert site 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. You have to unplug here. You're going to have to go over here, and right here I'm going to press the switch. You'll notice that the LED lights up, and then let's put you back here so you can watch it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit enter, and you can see that it starts marching across the screen. What you can't see is that the LED went out, and now both have been loaded. This is a good opportunity to show you a couple of things. Right here you see the S video. I'm going to change it to composite. It blanks, it switches. It's also putting out the DVI and the RGB at the same time. So the nice thing about this and about the XEL is that it will put out video multiple ways simultaneously. The other thing to keep in mind too is that you could put a Sophia revision B in here and route the 9-pin connector to the back of the box, because there's still one port there, and you could have output to 5 different screens simultaneously. RGB through the DIN 13 at the back through an SC1224, DVI through the Sophia revision C, the composite through the standard stock video and the UAV, and then S video through the stock video and the UAV, all simultaneously. Now, what you would want to watch it 5 different ways for, I don't know, but it could be a teaching machine. It could be quite cool. So, what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to go back into the loader, and I am going to go here, and I want to test the joysticks. Okay, so a couple of things. You noticed that it was making noises. You also noticed that I walked over here and I turned this light off. The reason for that is because this is emulating a mouse on a particular joy port, and we don't want that emulating when we're trying to test out the joystick. Okay, so this is on port number 1 right now. As I walk in front of the camera multiple times, let's turn this over here. Okay, and back this up just a little bit right there. All right, so just got a joystick attached to the refrigerator, and it's plugged in port 1 right now. This fire button, up, down, left, right, yeah, and then your diagonals. Okay, and then I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put it in port 2. Yeah, up, down, left, right, diagonals, and we're all good. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here. Really need to get more room in this place. And we're going to move to here. And then I'm going to... One thing I want to do is I put a cold boot. I enabled this. You can turn it off if you want. But I like to make sure that everything is reset. Okay. So your standard boot screen. All right, now the reason I did that is because I've got VBXE set up and drivers on my compact flash. Does a couple of things. In fact, why don't we look through that again since I had it off. Okay. Boot screen. You can also press L, go directly to the loader from here if that's what you want to do. So with Sparta-DOS, you can have multiple config sys files, and the way you do that is, I'll show you. You've got a directory called sparta.dos, and in it you just name your config files. And whenever SDX sees that directory, sparta.dos, it will look there for different config.sys files. It doesn't look for this config sys file unless you say load the default. All right. The one thing, the reason I put that in there is that since it is a VBXE, you're going to want to find the drivers and set up your config sys file like this. Okay. Banked is because you have memory expansion and you want SDX to use it. Sparta-DOS device is the thing that allows Sparta to have purpose. SIO allows SDX to address the SIO ports, allows it to read Atari DOS disks. I have Indus an Indus drive driver set for floppy 4. If I ever want to connect an Indus drive, I know I set it for the floppy drive number 4 so that it can access and it's set up correctly. Device UL time is the driver for the time clock on the Ultimate 1 Meg. This FATFS.sys, you're going to want to make sure that this is connected so that you can access the Fat16 partitions on the compact flash. S_VBXE is the full boat VBXE.sys file. There are others that are more minimal, but this is the full-blown one, and we'll make it do some things in a couple of minutes. I have a RAM disk set up for drive 9. That's just my standard RAM disk drive. The (8) means that it uses 8 banks of memory for its size. The con.sys, it allows you to play with the size of the console screen, and then that's it. Okay, so you'll also notice that I've got the directory set up so that they identify themselves when you're accessing them. That also does a couple of things. It tests the drive as soon as you log into it. So, for example, let's say I want to check out drive A. Well, it doesn't just go to A. It actually reads A to get the directory, so you know A is working. But I want to show you how I did that. Oops. So you'll notice, so this is just built into Spartados prompt, and then it's got different settings. $L, $P gets you the drive name and then the directory that it's in, and then I put a little terminating slash and then the cravat to give me the end of the line. The rest of these are just set my path for what it searches for, and then manuals is where I have all the help files stored for different SDX things. All right, let's check a couple of different things. So I'm going to try and point this up like this. Right. That's not awkward at all, is it? Let's see here. If I'm really lucky, I won't have to log back into the computer. Wrong button. All right. And okay, great. So what I've got here is I've got ARIA Respect, RESPEQT, which is sort of like the Atari Peripheral emulator by Atari Max, except it is shareware and it is updated on a regular basis. You'll also notice that I am running it under Parallels in a box on Windows on my Mac Mini. That's because there is a version for the Mac OS X, but it's not updated as regularly as the Windows version, and it is easier to do that this way than anything else. You'll also notice, if you can see it, let's get you a little closer here. You can see that I've got 2 drives set for RESPEQT, Respect. I'm just going to call it Respect, okay? And one of the things that I want you to notice is that not only do you have the drive set here, and these are just ATR files, but you can also see how it accesses here. One of the first things you're going to want to do is when you connect your 1088 to your machine, whether it's a Windows box, a Mac, or a Linux box, you're going to want to go in, find the COM port that Windows or the Mac installs, and then access it through that. Go to Tools, say Options, find out which one it is. In this case, it's COM6, and then say Save. What that does is, as long as it's set correctly, and that's the correct port, it'll go to DSR handshaking, and you can then, I'm going to do a directory of C, which is D3, and you can see it reading D3 on respect there. And then if we go down here, you'll see that it also accessed that. And if I go to C, it reads it. And then D4. Now, I use letters. SAX will handle it. You can also do this. It does the same thing. I have also got an SIO2 PC set up. So I test the legacy. And see, oh, that file not found because DI is not a thing. Okay. So all of the drives work. What I want to do now is show you some of the access lights on the top. So I'm going to disconnect that, and I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so we're not, So your indicator lights. This is the SIO2 PC read. If I do, for example, let's do the drive. We're going to look at a directory of D4. And you'll notice that it comes back and forth, or directory D2. Okay. You see, it accesses the SIO2 PC, which those lights correspond. Bring that right here. Directory D2. Okay. The other thing I want to show you is, I told you that you could access the Fat16 partitions. So what we're going to do now is I set those partitions to N and O, not 0, but N. Now, you'll notice it's not giving a directory. That's because Spartodust has to parse it, so it's reading the compact flash drive. You can also see that that indicator light is working. All right, now, when this comes to, it will eventually get a directory, and that's one of the reasons why I always have it read a directory, is so I know that that drive is working. Now let's do a directory here. And these are the same files that you noticed in the loader. Okay. Oh, yes. So, a couple of things. We've tested the legacy SIO, we've tested the SIO2 PC, we've tested the DVI, we've tested, the RGB, which you've seen there. We've tested the composite, we've tested the S-video, the sound you've heard that's underneath the digital. You've got the mouse that we've tested, the keyboard obviously we've been testing. What I want to do now is I want to test the cartridge port. So the cartridge port, very kind of cool. I'm just gonna put this cartridge in like this. If you look inside of it, you'll see that it's got the little indents and the little tabs, just like on a regular stock Atari. It's a little funky because you have to sort of make sure that it fits because you don't have a lot of leeway, but don't shove it, don't force it, just sort of jiggle it until it fits. If it's one of these, then you're not going to have a problem, but you're having to make sure that that opens up. Now, we put the cartridge in, and I'm going to start this up. And then it gives us the splash screen just like normal. And then instantly starts. Now, most cartridges, instant starts will work that way. But some, like programming carts, they need DOS to work, so DOS has to load. So let's do that here. And I'm going to pull this out. Just sort of, I'm going to put in an action cart. Woo, there we go. This is the Atari Max reproduction. I'm just going to plop it in like this and then start it up. Okay, the splash screen like normal. You'll notice that it starts like normal. Okay, okay, so where's the cartridge? Badam. Alright. You want to get out? Just reboot. I'm going to show you a couple of things about VBXE right now.